Do you have an older, small form factor computer that you want to play some games on? Are you checking eBay for the cheapest SSD and graphics card you could find and saw the R5 340X? Don't worry, so was I, and this video is for you. This PC is running Linux Mint XFCE 21.2, and I'll be testing Minecraft, both modded and unmodded, to see how it runs at these specs. All tests are at 1080p on the fast settings, unless otherwise stated, and playable is defined as a consistent 30 FPS or above. Let's get started with vanilla Minecraft, on version 26.2. Most areas ran at or above 60 FPS, with a demanding area like the bamboo jungle dropping to around 45. Do note that flying above areas loads way more blocks than you'd see on the ground, so this is as demanding as the game will really get. Memory usage hovers around 500 megabytes, being very reasonable for the system, albeit that the game can drop frames when loading too many new chunks at once. The lush caves, being the most demanding cave type, ran very well, hovering around the same 60 FPS, along with the nether fortress, tested because it's the hardest mandatory part of the game, so if it were unplayable, you wouldn't actually be able to beat Minecraft. Multiplayer was tested using the Hypixel server, and it was very impressive. Lobbies hovered around 70 FPS, with actual gameplay frequently above 85 FPS. The game ran better than my gameplay. I love Bed Wars, but I'd never argue I'm actually good at the mode. Overall, vanilla is a great experience. Cap the game to 1080p 60 and you'll have a very consistent time. Sodium is considered the standard performance mod for modern Minecraft for a reason. Across the board, frame rates were increased by 20 FPS or more. The initial flyover of the savannah and forest was above 80 FPS very often, despite how much it was loading. The game felt a bit smoother to play overall, as even the bamboo jungle saw frame rates above 60 FPS, meaning Sodium is able to get the game above 60 consistently. Caves in the nether fortress also hovered above 80 FPS, so it was a consistent improvement across the board. That was all with fast graphics. As with fancy, the game ran at 40 FPS in most areas with 30 in the bamboo jungle. If you're using Sodium, I can recommend bumping up the graphics to fancy, but I would personally cap the game to 30 FPS to make it more consistent across biomes. On fast, leave this cap at 60 and go to town, it's so smooth. Multiplayer saw less impressive but ultimately nice improvements to above 100 FPS in places, but generally hovering around 90 on fast graphics. I'd say just use Sodium, as modding the game is half the appeal of playing on PC anyways, so you may as well use it for such a significant jump. Now, we're moving on to the actual mod packs, but keep a few things in mind here. First off, shaders are a no-go on this system. You can get some of them to work at 720p 30 FPS, but that kinda defeats the purpose of shaders anyways, so I wouldn't bother. Secondly, this system only has 4GB of RAM. While that hasn't been an issue up to this point, the more mods you load, the more RAM it takes up. So these mod packs consistently brush up against that limit, and some, like Better MC5, won't even load because of it. If your system has more than 4GB of RAM, ignore my mentions of RAM in this section. With all of that in mind, Vanilla Perfected was very impressive. So long as you disable shaders, the initial flyover was consistently above 130 FPS, even loading in all the mobs and impressive animations. The bamboo jungle was hovering between 90 and 100 FPS, and the nether fortress and caves got as high as 150 FPS at points. This was a spectacular experience. On fancy, the game runs worse, but still very well, being well above 60 FPS in most areas, and the bamboo jungle hovering around 45. If you're gonna cap the game to 60 FPS anyways, you may as well run it on fancy, but personally I'd cap it to 80 FPS on fast for a buttery smooth experience in all areas. For the record, the reason I recommend capping the game's FPS is because I'm assuming you're gonna play this on an older display, one that is most likely 60Hz and maybe even lower than 1080p resolution, so there's no reason to push the system to its limits when playing a slow-paced single-player game like Minecraft. Cobblemon was also a good experience, with a few caveats. At 1080p fast, the game did consistently run around 60 FPS, but was frequently maxing out the system memory. This meant that when new chunks loaded, the game would drop to 30 FPS or below, and if the game auto-saved, it dropped to single-digit numbers. Unplayable? Not at all. I would personally cap the game to 30 FPS to make it more consistent. Otherwise, this was a great experience that felt outright good to play. I always wanted to play Pixelmon when I was younger, and this is scratching that itch for those new versions as well. I highly recommend playing this, just keep in mind of certain drops, especially with the autosave feature. It only stutters really badly for like half a second, but you know, that can kill you when you're, say, parkouring around. Finally is the classic RLCraft. This is an oldie but a goodie, running on 1.12.2. This was a very strange pack, as it ran fairly well with a couple caveats. Initially loading in, and whenever new chunks were generated, the game would drop to 30 FPS consistently. Once again, due to the memory of the system being constantly maxed out. With the amount of mobs and unique things being loaded, the game would drop from its pretty consistent 60 FPS in areas that were already loaded. So, like Cobblemon, I recommend capping the game to 30 just to have it be more consistent across the board. Otherwise, it's very playable, holding a pretty consistent 60 FPS even when flying around the world, albeit mostly in chunks that you've already loaded. But you're probably going to see 30 FPS in most situations. In the end, even a system like this can play Minecraft Java for all it's worth, whether it's single player, multiplayer, or modded. Sure, you'll have to be patient when first loading into a world, and if you explore too far too fast, you'll certainly encounter some lag. But all in all, you can easily get thousands of hours of playtime here. I wish I knew all this when I was younger, and that's why I made this video, hoping that someone else gets to play this awesome game, you know, with whatever hardware they happen to have. Just, please don't buy this exact system. This is a small form factor desktop, and you can get a full-size desktop for the same price, and they have so many advantages. They're easier to fix and upgrade, as they tend to use anyway, standard power supplies, and you can use more sizes of graphics cards. But hey, if you have $20 and an Intel Core PC, slap an R5 340X and an SSD and get on your way. It's a pretty good experience. Give somebody a compliment today, and I'll see you in the next video.